What's up everyone, and welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. My name's Jordan and this is
Jessica.
And this is our channel, A Tribe Called Owens. Normally we're doing travel vlogs, we're talking about veganism, mindful parenting, we're talking about life, we're talking about travel, but today is something a little bit different. You probably clicked on this video because you're interested in cheap houses in Canada, and we are definitely going to get into that. But I think we have to kind of tell the backstory about how we came to finding cheap houses in Canada and why we're moving to a cheap house in Canada and where that is. So if this does sound interesting for you, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, because we have a ton of content coming up in the next few months as we document our journey to where we're going. We will get into that, and the home renovations that we are going to be doing when we get there.
So maybe you're wondering how we even got to this point looking for cheap houses in Canada.
To make a long story short, I just finished a 12-year career playing professional hockey, and the last 12 years for Jess and I have consisted of a lot of moving. We are no strangers to moving. We pack up our bags at least twice a year. Where the team is, that's where I go. But there is a downside to that, and that's when the season ends and the off season starts. We need to find a place to live. And we have owned a house in the past, we don't own it anymore. And the last few years we have spent living in downtown Toronto, where both Jess and I love to spend our time with the food, the restaurants. I mean, I don't really have to try that hard to explain why we like Toronto. But it's come to a point now that my career is over. We need somewhere to live. We need a nest. We need somewhere to be.
And Toronto's expensive. Earlier this year, we were living in a 1-bedroom basement apartment. It was very small. It was fine for us. We don't mind living in small spaces, but it was $1,600. And if you're paying that much, you'd like to think you would get a little bit more.
At that price, when you tack on your utilities, maybe your car, your insurance, your cell phone, eating out at restaurants, your monthly expenses really tend to add up quickly. It's something that we noticed as a family, and it required me to be working around the clock just to live, just to pay for a roof over our head. And as a byproduct of that, our family dynamic was not suffering, but it just wasn't what we envisioned or wanted to raise our daughter. Me personally, I felt like I wasn't even seeing Irie grow up. I noticed the days were dropping, the weeks were dropping, the months were dropping, and all of a sudden 6 months just disappeared out of thin air. And that for me was terrifying, that 6 months of my life just passed by and I didn't feel in control at all.
I don't think we fully realized how much time you would be away from us until we were actually in the thick of it. And although it's very common for a lot of people to have that very same, schedule, we just knew that it wasn't going to work for us.
And this isn't a boo-hoo, poor us story at all. We realize the overwhelming majority of people live like this, but we've realized it doesn't have to be that way. And there came a point during one of the weeks I was at work where I just came up from my office and I told Jess, like, enough's enough. We need to make a change. And it took a while to get to this moment where we are about to move. It wasn't something that happened overnight, but we realized it was something that needed to happen. We had to find somewhere to live that wasn't gonna cost us an arm and a leg, and somewhere that was gonna allow us to work less than a typical 9-to-5 job or a 40-hour work week. It is possible, it just took some pivoting and a lot of research.
So with all these realizations coming into play here, that led us to looking for houses, looking for places to live. And Google told us the cheapest houses in Canada are out east.
Our house is in St. John, New Brunswick. We did look all over Canada, and I could tell you I've seen every house in Canada under $100,000, but it wasn't that easy. With me coming off a career in hockey and not exactly having a traditional or conventional type of income, and Jess either, it was really tough for us to get a mortgage. The banks would pretty much laugh us out the door when we would tell them we didn't have a consistent income or 9-to-5 job. So our options were actually very limited. And part of the reason for us moving out east is because we can't afford anywhere to live where we grew up. The average house price where we are in Niagara Falls is well over $400,000, and when you really get down to the numbers, you're gonna be working around the clock just to pay for your house. And like we said, that's just not something that we wanna do. But having said that, not being able to get a mortgage actually was the best possible thing that could have happened to us. It basically forced us to hunt out the cheapest houses in Canada and buy something that we could pay for outright and not have a mortgage. For us to be mortgage free at this stage of our life is a huge victory. Right now, all we have to worry about going forward is our bills. We don't have a car payment, so only car insurance and our cell phones. And between two people, that's pretty manageable.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to freedom and flexibility. We want the freedom to be able to work how we want to work and when we want to work. And not having a mortgage takes so much pressure off of us and allows us to be free and do what we want to do.
After scouring across Canada, all the way from BC to PEI, we decided upon New Brunswick, more specifically St. John. We noticed that the prices for land and homes in St. John were far cheaper than anywhere else in Canada. And like I said, it allowed us to buy something outright. And that is probably the biggest win of all of this.
And we realized that not everyone will be able to buy their house outright or pay in cash. But if you can find a house like ours that is under $100,000, it makes your mortgage payment that much lower and makes owning a home that much more attainable.
So finding a way to be completely mortgage free or having a very small mortgage payment that's easily tackleable for one or two people just gives you your time back. All the time that you are giving to your employer, 40 plus hours a week, that's time away from your kids. That's time away from your home that you're paying for. Why do we do this? It makes no sense at all.
Time away from something you would rather be doing.
You hate your job.
I love my job.
You're miserable.
I love my job.
I guess I shouldn't put everyone in a box that says you don't like your job, but I know a lot of people don't. So this gives you freedom to maybe do something that you do enjoy, do work that you do enjoy.
Yeah, that's a great point. And from my own perspective, like I didn't even hate my 9-to-5 like office job. I liked it, but there was just something about being away from my daughter for so long and not having complete freedom. That's something that I value a lot. Freedom and complete autonomy to do what I want, go where I want to go, when I want to do it. I don't want to have to ask my boss for time off. This is my life. I should be able to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. And there was just something that was eating inside of me, and I'm not saying I won't go back to that life, but I do have a giant fear of being on my deathbed and not having tried and attempted everything that I wanted to do in my life. All those passion projects, all those things that I wanted to learn that maybe I didn't have time for. That is a huge fear, borderline phobia of mine. So taking the leap of faith and maybe moving somewhere that's far from home like us, we're 13 to 15 hours away from home, which could be looked at as a downside, but the cost that we're willing to pay to get our time back.
So after traveling and living in so many different places, although I did really enjoy that chapter in our lives, and it's not necessarily over, towards the end I was really craving just a little nest, a home base, somewhere that I knew was always going to be there, and somewhere that I could call my home. And that for me was really important. It doesn't mean that I don't want to continue to travel and maybe live in other places, but for right now, I think it's really important for our family to have somewhere familiar and somewhere like have roots a little bit.
The house that we did buy in St. John is valued under $100,000. And if you compare that to houses across Canada, that is definitely on the cheaper end. And you could even go cheaper than that. We found plenty of homes that are nice, that are livable, and I guess I should say depending on your standards, maybe they're not livable for some people, but we're not really in that category. We've lived in some interesting places in our times, different countries. We stay at hostels when we travel. We are easy to please, but that's not to say that our house isn't awesome. It's a 1.5 story house with 2 bedrooms. It's an older home, but it is kept in pristine condition. The inside is super clean, and we do plan to do some updates. Flooring, we're gonna finish the attic, which is probably both of our favorite feature of the home. Turn it into a cozy place to watch movies or maybe an office. And it really ticks all the boxes for a home and a nest or home base for us.
It's really perfect for what we're looking for right now at this very point in our lives. So when we had Irie, we knew that it was important for both of us to be her primary caregivers. But we also knew that there would come a time where I wanted to work also. So if you're working a 9-to-5 job, I'm less likely to be able to work outside the home as well and take care of Irie. So when you're more flexible, it allows me to also be flexible with my work, which I do want to eventually start working again. And so it wasn't really an option for us to send Irie to daycare or to have her be watched by family, just because we wanted to be there for her. And so being flexible with both of our work allows us to still be there for Irie in the end.
So yeah, this is really all just about finding ways to do what you want to do in life and not be controlled by societal norms or pressure of fitting in with your friends and family, just that conventional type of life. And not to rag on it, it's great. I have total respect for it. But for us,
we knew there was another way, and we knew that we wanted to make the quote unquote sacrifices in order to achieve that sort of lifestyle.
So we hope this story inspires you to make that change, to make that leap of faith, to seek out alternative ways of living, cheaper places to live, so that you can take back your time and do the things that you want to do, whether it's more time with family, whether it's taking that course you wanted to do, or spending more time on things that aren't bringing in income. It's all about finding ways to do that stuff, because life is short, and before you know it, there's not going to be any more time to get that stuff done. So if this video inspired you and you want to follow along with our story, like I mentioned at the start, we're just getting started. Please like, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks again for watching. Bye.
Peace.